Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the High Elves and Lizardmen here on Chateau de Roquefort. It's going to be myself with Caradron facing off against the Lizards and Tic-Tac-Toe, and let's get this party started and break down the build. So frontline's going to be Ship's Company, which I think are pretty cost-effective here. Silver shields against the Javelins and Blow Darts, and good enough in combat to fight against Skinks. What's not to love? Obviously, we'll get bullied by Saurus and more elite units, but yeah, their job there is just to kind of hold back low-tier troops. Now, we do have Oceanids. Now, Oceanids I'm still on the fence about. But yeah, I figured, hey, maybe they'll be able to grind down the Saurus and the Skinks and give me a little bit of mass to maybe hold Croc scores back. We're going to have to see. So we got two of those. Lothern Sea Guard in the back, Spearman, and an Archmage of High Magic on a Chariot, just kind of experimenting there a little bit. And Tempest going to be very, very good here because everybody, I think, out of the gates is going to be very afraid of Skycutters. So they're going to overinvest in Air Forces to shut you down. So then if you just don't bring an Air Force and you go in with Tempest, I think you can feast. Now, Caradron, I think, is really, really strong, and one of the main reasons is, well, he's an anti-large fighter, of course, but he has this ability called Frostfire. So basically, when he hits something, it makes him weak to fire damage, which, of course, he does fire damage, right? So it's going to be an augment to his stats. If you're going Lore of Fire, for example, even further Kindle Flame synergies, really, really beast mode character. So he does have Attuned to Magic. He has Captain of the Phoenix Guard to heal up ground-based units, and that's going to be it. Now, for the forces of the dinosaurs, it's going to be Tic-Tac-Toe, a Skink Oracle, which is kind of a cool tech to try and shut down the Air Force and maybe give you some ground-based shooting against Skycutters. We do have Pterodon Riders, and on the other side, Colossodon Hunters, Skinks, and Croxagores, the best friends of Illustria. All right. Fast forwarding here while we advance and get up in position. So the army is going to be advancing towards objective 1. My opponent with the quicker army is going to be securing the high ground objective. But now we're going to be preparing for a Royal Rumble here while the cohort of Waddle is called in, the ROR Croxagores. Pretty good. I mean, they do magic damage, so that's very helpful against things like Oceanids, which love their physical resist of 30%. And now my archer is going to be shooting into the red-crested Skinks and tickling them a little bit. Nothing too crazy, just waiting on the Tempest. And the Oceanids are going to be popping in here in just a moment. Caradron just, lurking in the back behind the army. Plenty of good opportunities for him to fight, that's for sure. Now, Oceanids, you'd think they'd be tankier. You're like, oh, they got 20 missile resist, 30 fizz res. But in my experience, they get killed really, really quickly by light shooting, like things from Skink cohorts and zombie pistols on Vampire Coast. You've got to be a little bit cautious with them. They're not like, Croxagores who have scaly skin and are like super armored and whatnot. So moving in are the Ship's Company, but unfortunately some of them are going to get bullied by the Croxagores. So the Croxagores do have their spanking paddles out. Ship's Company surging forward, a little bit excited, and they are going to get taken to Pound Town pretty good. Looking at the casualties, they are mounting rather quickly, and the Oceanids are going to be moving in with the Phoenix Guard to try and help out. Now, Phoenix Guard I brought because of Caradron being able to heal with Captain of the Phoenix Guard. The other Oceanids overextended. Do end up doing some good damage against the Skink cohorts, but the Sacred Croxagores are going to be a very good counter against them. Moving in is going to be Caradron battling versus the Croxagores with his anti-large bonus, and the Phoenix Guard will now move up and help out, and they should be very, very good in this fight. Ship's Company versus Red Crested Skinks kind of chilling out, and we do see Colden Riders being called under the wings for my opponent. Meanwhile, another Phoenix Guard unit for myself. So really, this patch I've been enjoying Elite High Elves a lot, and Caradron does overextend a little bit, and I didn't notice this. So he did chase after the Croxagores, who retreated away from the Phoenix Guard, and unfortunately he gets surrounded by Colossodon Hunters, so pretty huge blunder on my part, but thankfully he's just such a raid boss of a character. But you know what's great about messing up with Caradron? When all of us, are playing with him in tournaments and you get him low, you could be like, I wanted him to get low on purpose so I could use the Mark of Asaurian. So when he gets below 20%, he basically gets a super uber Mortis engine. So that was, of course, the only reason I let him get surrounded like this. Not just a horrible lack of, decision making there, or attention, I should say. I wasn't paying attention. But the Keepers of the Flame in the front are going to be parking down here with their Oceanids, and the Oceanids now a little bit cozier. And I did notice Caradron was in a bit of trouble, so our mage is going to be using a Tempest to punish, and it does hit Tic-Tac-Toe as well as the Colossodon Hunters. Ends up being a decent little exchange there, and Caradron is able to weasel his way out of that situation. Now in the main battle lines, the Keepers of the Flame doing great work in cutting through the Skinks and pushing back the Croxagores. Croxagores not happy about that fight. And the Oceanids are not doing terribly. They are able to work through some of the chaff units, and you can see here the Skink cohorts are going to be getting it pretty bad from the Oceanids. Oceanids are much more of a defensive unit, kind of for just they're kind of like a spearman unit in the form of monstrous infantry. Just hold a position, have high melee defense, and okay damage output, obviously. But spearmen have terrible damage output, but theirs is okay. So they do break those guys, and now I was like, all right, we're kind of cooking a little bit. We're only down a little bit on value, and all that value is tied up in the damage he did to Caradron. At the back, Reavers do clean up some of the chaff units, and we're starting to win some of the fighting here, as Spearmen grinding effectively, more Phoenix Guard getting in, Earthblood going down from the dinosaurs, a nice one, able to hit the Croxagores. and Tic-Tac-Toe lurks in the skies, while Caradron, riding his mighty Phoenix with 95 speed, is able to outrun the Colossedon hunters. And I'm just waiting for another Tempest, basically. That's going to be the plan. But Caradron is very, very pricey, so this isn't great for me. But there's going to be a Tempest going down on the Colossedons from the Archmage right there, dropping it like it's hot. And in the middle, the Phoenix Guard and Oceanids actually do win their fight. Over here, we do have the Swordsmen and Spearmen holding it out. And right now, we're starting to pull back in value a little bit. We're only down by about 400. Both of us do have healing, though. He has a Skink Oracle, and I, of course, have Apotheosis. Mainly, I've been using my Winds of Magic to try and keep the Colossedon Hunters in check, and they do Rampage, going after my Archmage. So got to be careful here. They do hit very, very hard. Spearmen coming across to try and salvage that situation. Phoenix Guard chasing back the Croxigors, and the Oceanids and Phoenix Guard are going to be sitting on the middle. And let's look at the value on these guys so far. So 52 kills and sitting at about 600 value. Not bad. Now they're just over 1,000 gold, so it's not like something that's an obscenely expensive investment. Phoenix Guard being chased by red-crested skinks, which is really bad for the Phoenix Guard. Sure, they're going to win, but it's going to be an ineffective trade. So I sacrifice some spearmen into the cohort to try and hold them in place and allow the Phoenix Guard to get up to the high ground and escape. So we do have the double cap. Also at this point, threatening the triple cap with the Haggard Chips Company, who was able to make their way over there. Valyrian Reavers are a really good counter against red-crested skinks, who only have 18 melee defense. So the charge bonus here on these guys, plus their decent damage output, is able to wear them down. Fireborn called in for my forces, and yet another Tempest is going to be activated. So that one's really, really brutal. That's able to hit Tic-Tac-Toe and also rip into the Colossedon Hunters again. I don't think that one was overcasted. And now the Fireborn going to be trying to intercept into the cohort of Waddle here, but my opponent will be retreating away. Well, in the middle, the Oracle gets a little bit crunk, getting a little bit too close to the Halberds. We'll see, but we do have a decent lock on the objectives right now. So we're sitting only 400 value behind, but with healing, he might still be a little bit ahead in terms of overall trading. Caradron going to be attacking into the cohort of Waddle, and Fireborn retreating away from the Cav here, trying to get my Spear saturated in, get the Fireborn back, and then eventually I'll turn around and fight once the Spearmen are in. So the Fireborn do turn around and fight now because the Spearmen are in. Archmage in a bit of danger, needing to get away there. Spearmen do get broken over there, and most of my elite units are kind of occupied to the high ground, right? So it's a bit of an unfortunate positioning thing for me. I had a lot of units up here, and I probably needed to have one of my Phoenix Guard down here to really anchor this. However, the Spearmen are doing pretty good, and Caradron is going to be fighting. He's soon going to have his Mortis Engine. We'll see what kind of value he's able to get there. So now, yeah, there's the Mark of Isaurian. So it's not super good against, like, Monstrous Infantry, but even still, it's cooking. You can see it's draining HP off Tic-Tac-Toe, a couple HP at a time, which isn't bad at all. And the Spearmen are going to be getting the Captain of the Phoenix Guard. So these humble Spearmen being promoted by the Captain of the Phoenix Guard right there. And it's going to be a big percentage-based heal and also give them some Fizz Res. So it could be worse. But Caradron, very, very low. The blunder in the beginning cost me pretty good. Fireborn trying to fight, but being traded into pretty effectively by the cohort as well as the Cold and Spear Riders. So this engagement was a disaster for me, basically. I had my big centerpieces up in the middle, and they're still up there, right? The Phoenix Guard, I was so nervous about, like, the split push here. I was thinking about trying to triple cap him, which was stupid. I really, really should have just had one come down here and hold that position, but we're still not out of this game by any stretch. We're in an okay position. We're able to repel his push here a little bit. Caradron did get pushed off. It looks like he's broken and running. So Homeboy sitting at 300 HP. His Mortis Engine is only active when he's on the ground in melee, if I'm not mistaken. But here we do get our Fireborn starting to uptrade. Crocscore is getting worn down. Spearman doing very good. Oceanids coming across, providing a little bit of durability. And just to try and save Caradron, I do use a Tempest, and it allows him to rally because he creates a little bit of distance here. And on the backside, Lothern Skycutters are now in. So I was going to start with them in my army, but at the last second of my build, I did switch them into reinforcements. I do think they're pretty good against lizards because they wreck infantry like skinks and are okay against ours, and they're also really good against monsters. Granted, it's still a bolt thrower, so it's not like some obscene amount of damage, but over the course of a long game, it can definitely do some work for you. So Phoenix Guard holding it down with Oceanids here. On the other side, the Phoenix Guard moving to Objective 3, going to be trying to get me back into game in terms of points. Here, the fighting rage is on. The Fireborn, the Dragon Princes, the Spearmen trying to fight the Croxigors, Skin Cohorts providing a little bit of Overwatch fire, and the Oceanids are up to about 1,000 value. So really, not too bad. I've really been giving them a lot of grief, with the homies when I play with them. I'm like talking about how much I dislike them, but every now and then they'll surprise you and do well. So Caradron is back in business, and he unfortunately doesn't have a whole lot of healing left here from the Archmage. I'm pretty sure I used most of my magic on Tempests. We do end up losing this fight over here, so the Lizards are able to outgrind us with their Croxigor spanking squad. Skink Oracle doing some nice shooting from downtown as well, putting in a little bit of DPS against my elite keepers, which are now fighting a Feral Stegodon. And on this side, we do have our Phoenix Guard holding that one down. I am down on points, but I will win on 2 objectives here, so the die is cast. We know it needs to be done. Skycutters being called in, which is a little bit risky when you're in Skycutters are probably something that you should start on the battlefield, to accrue that long-term value rather than just calling them in later here. So Caradron is going to get afflicted by, I believe, an Apotheosis or some sort of spell going down. I'm not sure what it was. But he does move into fight, 200 HP here. And now he is Mortis Engineering. So the Flames of Asaurian are activated. Oh, no-scoped by the Skink Oracle. So he gets taken down there. Beautiful stuff. Oceanids and Keepers of the Flame fighting the Feral Stegodon, doing a hell of a lot of damage. I've been having so much fun with Phoenix Guard in this patch. The Phoenix Guard sitting at about 1,000 value there, which isn't terrible considering. Over on the other side, the Bolt Thrower Sky Cutters are shooting into the Croxagores and wearing them down. And I do call in another Bolt Thrower. So we have 2 Sky Cutters up in the sky now, while the Ship's Company going to be surging towards the middle. And the Phoenix Guard doing a great job. I mean, breaking that Stegodon here. Oceanids are still going, since the very beginning. And my poor Archmage getting hunted by the Skink Oracle. Really, really cool to see these things in action. I think they're so neat. Don't really see them a lot, but yeah, old Taco here, he likes to bring some fun builds. So here we see it at 2,400 value, so it's certainly been paying for itself. And it can use its anti-large skeet attacks here on the Oceanids and definitely wear them down. Ship's Company arriving to the middle, going to be trying to wrestle that objective back. I have lost it, and I am down on points, so it's getting a little bit sketchy. Archmage over here, seeing the writing on the wall. We do see some Horned Ones coming in. Horned Ones will have a bad time versus Phoenix Guard, but they themselves are also really good AP fighters, so they can definitely do some decent work here. It can get a little bit sketchy. So in response, we do call in some Reavers to give us some bodies here to help out. Sky Cutter Chariots sniping the cohort of Waddle, slowly wearing them down. In the middle, the Ship's Company and the Oceanids trying their best, but Oceanids are going to get worn out here and finally disappear. Ship's Company, though, their 36 melee defense, should be able to trade okay, but I think these are legit just regular SARs, which, these 8-foot-tall jack steroid lizards will definitely be very, very menacing. All right, so Croxagores do get broken by the Sky Cutter Chariots, which was quite nice. And now these Sky Cutter Chariots going to be surging forth, and these Ship's Company, unfortunately, I do overchase. I should have kept them and just flanked back here, but, they're on a mission. They really have a blood feud with these skinks. There can only be one aquatic unit on this battle, and they're going to decide who it's going to be. Parking behind here, the Sky Cutter Chariots now going to be putting some shots into the Skink Oracle right there, so he is going to be getting worn down. And we can also see these as chariots run into the back. On this side, we do stabilize the objective with the Phoenix Guard taking a lot of damage from red-crested skinks. They're very cost-effective against elite high elf armor, just because they're so numerous and they have really high AP values. They can definitely wear you down. So this is going to be a losing fight for us on this side. Calling into the back, I think we get more Reavers. We got Spearmen and Ship's Company coming up here. Middle objective is being contested, and up in the Sky Cutter Chariots, we do see 700 value so far here, about 500 here, and they're a really good unit. I do think they have bugged hitboxes. It feels like in some of the testing we've done, only the Great Eagle gets shot. I feel like the Chariot on the back is like it doesn't have a hitbox or something very funky with that. CA always does something like that. There's always some haggardness there. But retreating away, the Archmage is going to be battling it out, while the Illyrian Reavers, and they do get worn down here. The Archmage maintaining some capture weight, but this point is going to be lost to the Horned Ones, and in the middle, the Skink Oracle here kind of taking over, while some Reavers do start to ninja the outside objective. But we're close on value, though. Like, we have been able to creep back, but I just don't have the agency on the battlefield right now. Throwing Caradron, who's a very expensive character, and also moving the Ship's Company back here, another huge mistake, by the way, might have been able to help me keep the middle objective. Although probably not with the SARs. They might have actually died. Maybe that saved their life. Who knows? Reavers trying to steal that objective. Here we do get Spearmen moving in, and the Sky Cutter Chariots charging into the red-crested skinks and doing some excellent damage. Horned Ones will not be happy about fighting spears, but, they'll do okay. They do have high armor, but if they stay in sustained combat with spears, that's where it's going to get very, very ugly. Archmage circling, Sky Cutter Chariot just running over the various skink units. The Eagle Talons coming in and ripping up the red-crested skinks. So they are able to get right there. And looking on the middle here, we do see the Lothern Sky Cutters coming across. And we do have a little bit of a contesting on 2 side points now, which is nice. Over here, we do get the capture weight, but mostly chaff-centric units versus Horned Ones, and a hell of a lot of pressure, especially coming in with the Croxagores. They're really going to be able to bully those Ship's Company. And the points are just getting a little bit out of control here, guys, as we do put up a decent fight here, but now that some Cold One Riders are in, Cold One Riders will dominate Reavers. And the Chariots, of course, are decent. We get the Skink Oracle a little bit low there. I don't even know how he started wavering. I guess the Bolt Thrower was able to shoot him or something. But we're simply not going to have enough time to get back in this. So GG, well played. Really, really fun matches. We do get folded over here just by the armor, and we weren't able to reclaim the ground. Fun match, though. I mean, we made some decision-making mistakes that cost us quite a bit. Like, if we had had a Phoenix Guard on that low-ground fight for that big, decisive fight, I think we could have been in a position to win the game. But also, we made 2 big mistakes. Throwing Caradron in the trash, letting him take that damage in the beginning was awful. He should never have taken that much damage. I should have just, got a Tempest off and had him just beat those guys up in the sky and then cycle charge, whatever. So that was the first big mistake. Second big mistake was the Phoenix Guard positioning. I just really had them anchored in the center, whereas I needed them over in the flanks. But let's evaluate the units here. Oceanids, okay. I personally am not a big fan of Oceanids. I mean, it does give you some mass, maybe in some matchups. The jury is still out on them. I don't want to call them bad yet, but I do feel like they're a little bit mediocre, would be probably the proper term. And Krodron didn't perform that game, but that's my fault. He's really good. Krodron is amazing. He has the healing for your ground-based units. He's an obscenely powerful fighter, has really high stats. He has anti-large. He's a lot of what you're looking for like a big flying fighter. The mage did fine, and the bolt throwers still did really good despite being in the game for like a minute or two. So Skycutters in general are extremely strong. They are very, very strong. I would imagine that I suspect they're probably going to get a nerf at some point simply because of land battles, like land battle stuff. Because they're so in land battle, I think like especially the other ones that have like 1 million ammo would be extremely oppressive. And Dom, it's not as much of a problem, but I can see that being a big problem for the conquest and land battle community. So I expect the ammunition reduction to maybe come in. Probably these guys will just have a cost increase, and the regular ones will have an ammunition reduction. I would wager, because these things are just so consistently effective, and also have the bugged hitboxes. So there's a lot of issues with them. All right, guys, GG, well played. Looking at the Lizard stuff, wow, 3,000 on the Oracle. What a hero. He carried the hell out of that game, man. And yeah, the rest of the dinos did good. Stegodon kind of got pooped on a little bit, but aside from that, no, other Velociraptor Cap did fine. GG, well played, guys. We'll see you around. Well played to Taco, and that's it for tonight. Cheers.